Ladies and gentlemen, and hockey fans of all ages, it is that time of year. I'm not talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs, but hey, they're right around the corner. Not the start of the NHL season, not the draft. The stretch drive is right upon us. Trade center is right around. This is where we see teams really starting to compete to try to make the playoffs, solidify their playoff chance, trying to make that big trade to say, hey, we're close to contender. Now we are a contender. Or you look at a team that had the unfortunate demise this year saying, hey, we're going to get some assets to say, hey, in a few years or so, we're going to be the best teams out there and show, hey, we made the right moves. All that is just happening right now in the NHL. My name is Randy Dillon. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Randy Talks Hockey. A lot is going around the league, and we're going to get you caught up as this stretch line does happen. For the first time in a long time, the San Jose Sharks, they are a seller at the deadline. Who would have thought that? For so many years, they were at the top of the peak of the mountain saying, hey, we're going to win that cup, we're the buyers, but now they're the seller. The biggest piece, though, is Brendan Dillon. Where Mr. Dillon's going to go, a top four defenseman, left-handed wing. I could see the reports are saying, hey, he might go to Winnipeg. The Jets, they desperately need a defenseman after losing Big Buff. And you can see they're just a tired group of players because they had to really change their situation with what happened at the start of the year. Dillon could help them. It depends what the price is going to be. The reports are saying a second-round pick possibly and a prospect. Will Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Jets pay that price sooner rather than later? Because they definitely need that help. Other defensemen that are out there, you could look at the likes of Alec Martinez of the LA Kings. He's a left-handed defenseman. And also, he's a Stanley Cup winner. Let's not forget that overtime Stanley Cup winning goal against the Rangers back in 2014. You have the likes of Trevor Daley and Mike Green from the Detroit Red Wings. Daley, a former two-time Stanley Cup winner, with a big part, especially in the 2017 season for the Penguins. Mike Green, I look at him more of a depth defenseman, but if you need help on the power play, he's your guy. I look at teams that really kind of need defensive help. I think Toronto and Winnipeg, they're right up there because Winnipeg, no Dustin Byfuglien. Toronto, the injury to Morgan Rielly. Carolina, they do have the depth to replace the loss of Dougie Hamilton, but it does help to add that. You're not going to have anyone that's going to be playing up to Hamilton's standards for what he was this year, possibly winning the Norris after this injury, unfortunately. But it does help. Maybe the Washington Capitals, they could use the top six winger. Jonas Eagle had played great, but I think they would like maybe a little bit insurance. Vegas, they need a top six defenseman as well for their team because it's just been a struggle on defense this year, the ups and downs. Now, we're going to look at teams we're going to see possibly who are the buyers and who are the sellers in the market and who's going to be aggressive. I think you're going to see the teams that are going to be the most aggressive at the deadline and coming up. We're going to look at teams like the Calgary Flames. They want to show, hey, they're big. They're ready to go all in and show they can win a team. Brad Treliving, he hasn't been really busy in years past at the deadline. Will this the year he go and fetch a rental? Or is he going to make a hockey trade with the guy who has term? Possibly maybe a guy like Jason Zucker. If you look at the rental market, you got a guy like Tyler Toffoli, Chris Kreider. Another team I think going to be aggressive at the deadline, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think this is really their last chance to win. Show they can win. They lose a lot of defensemen coming after this season. They got to move somebody to meet the cap. It's going to be really interesting. The Colorado Avalanche, they look ready to win. They are poised. If you add more depth to this team on the wing, and you add a top six defenseman to this team, and maybe a backup goalie. The reason I'm saying backup is you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs when your starter goes down and how your backup's going to perform. Look at Montreal with Carey Price, a couple of playoffs. Edmonton, go back to 2006 with Dwayne Rollison leaving. I know it really worked out with Tampa Bay with Andre Vasilevsky, but Tampa Bay with prepping Vasilevsky. Grubauer is their guy, and they see it for that foreseeable future. I don't know if they have enough faith in Jean-Baptiste Franchise, who is the backup. He has 12 wins, but do you have enough faith to put him in a big scenario in a playoff game? The Islanders I could see being aggressive. Last year they weren't. I think they want to show, hey, we are for real. It's going to be interesting because they already have a lot of wingers signed. It's going to be more of a rental. Hey, could Chris Kreider come from Broadway to the Long Island? Vegas, they're going to be aggressive at the deadline because they want to show they after really getting screwed last year, they're going to be like, hey, we are ready. We want to show we can win. We were close a couple of years. This year, the Carolina Hurricanes. They look at a really potential. They want to add a top 6 winger and the depth in the defense with the injury of Dougie Hamilton. Hamilton making great progress. Who knows if he's going to return at the playoff. Now, I look at teams that are not going to be aggressive at the deadline. I look at the St. Louis Blues. They're going to get Tarasenko back. That's a big addition right there. Going to be depending what they're going to add, maybe some depth pieces. I look at the Vancouver Canucks. Now, people are thinking maybe the Canucks should be aggressive at the deadline. They're doing great right now. They have all the pieces. Maybe adding a top 6 defense might be key, or adding some depth on defense. But at the forward position, you're going to get Michael Furlan back. You're going to get Josh Leivo back. So Tyler Mott back. I'm not worried about the Canucks. The Penguins, I don't see them being aggressive at the deadline because they don't really have the assets. Because year after year, you are a contender. You are a contender, so you always run low on assets. They do have Galchenyuk to trade, but his value is very low, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be interesting what Jimmy Rutherford do. They do got their first round pick, however, so we'll see what happens there. Tampa Bay, they're in an interesting spot at the deadline because do you go forward with the group you have to prove this group's ready to win, or are you a little worried last year's playoff failure is going to repeat and you got to add the big pieces? Other teams we're interested to see are going to be what the Washington Capitals is going to do. The Boston Bruins, I think they would like to add a top 6 forward, but they're in a little bit of a cap-tight crunch. They're going to try to trade David Backes, but can they find a trade partner with 1 year left? We hear Anaheim saying at the deadline, hey, we'll take a bad contract for you, but you got to pay us. The Ottawa Senators, this year they're probably happy they're not in the full front of Trade Center because last year with Mark Stone and Duchesne, it was just a whirlwind. This year, they do have Jean-Gabriel Pageau to trade. The reports are that at a high price. It's going to be a first round of prospect. But also for the Senators, they might keep Pageau, he has been a great part. It's been a tremendous season for him. So we'll see what happens there. But we know that they want to be a cap team. So I don't know if they're going to pay Pageau the price he wants. Another team we could see interesting at the deadline, the Oilers, but Ken Holland said he's not giving up his first-round pick, so it's going to be by a prospect. They could use some help on the depth on the wing and maybe some defense. We'll see what happens there. Our big sellers at the deadline, we already talked about Ottawa with Pageau, but the other big interesting fact for the Senators, it's going to be Craig Anderson, the goalie. If you're a team that really feels you're confident to win, having depth in the backup position always can help. Look at Pittsburgh a couple of years ago in 2017. Matt Murray went down injury. Marc-Andre Fleury was a big part of winning that Columbus series. He stole the series against Washington, which I'm still very mad about. But you might need 2 goalies to win a Stanley Cup. You never know. Craig Anderson might be the option for some teams to improve the backup position. I look at teams like I already said, Colorado, maybe Vegas. I don't have enough faith in Malcolm Subban. Maybe Pete DeBoer does. Calgary, it all depends on the play of Cam Talbot. He has shown he can be good and bad at the same time. But with Talbot, you hope Cam Talbot can be that great, can be the guy you saw in late December, early January. The Detroit Red Wings, we have mentioned them. They have some wealth on defense with Daly and Mike Green. The other guy we're going to be looking at is Andreas Athanasiou. It just really hasn't worked out in Detroit. They've been rumbling he might be traded. A good young forward. He's an RFA, so you do get the rights, but it's going to cost you. And it's always interesting what Steve Yzerman does at the deadline. He did a lot of great things in Tampa Bay. Remember, stole Ben Bishop from Ottawa, got Ryan Callahan in a deal, got Ryan McDonough in a deal from the Rangers on 2 separate occasions. So Mr. Yzerman knows what he does to make this team better. The trade for Coburn, for Gouda, that really helped the Tampa Bay in 2015 to propel themselves to the finals. Chicago, they're an interesting spot because they're still competing for a playoff. I don't think them making any move because they do have the biggest asset in Leonard and Crawford. But we've already heard their story, which guy they're going to keep, and they really want to make the playoffs. So much is happening in the NHL, ladies and gentlemen. It's just so fun and exciting. I hope you're excited just like I am. We'll try to give you updates every week, maybe twice a week if I have time. I'll always check out my Twitter at Randy Dillon for what's going on. Anyway, that's all we got time for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Randy Talks Hockey. Enjoy the Super Bowl for tomorrow. Who do you got? Do you got San Fran or do you got Kansas City? I'm going to go with... I'm not a big football fan. I don't follow that much. Super Bowl is always fun to watch, but I'm working, unfortunately. I'm going to go with the 49ers because just how they played last year, they were really good 2 teams year in a row. We'll see what happens. Enjoy everyone who watching Super Bowl. And before I go, I just want to give my condolences to the Bryant family. Unfortunately, we heard the incident of Kobe Bryant and his daughter in that helicopter crash. Really unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. This is just me being personal and all that. Enjoy the time we have with each other. We don't know when it's going to be take. If you see your family, give them a hug. Call your parents if you don't see them that much. Your grandparents, uncles, aunts, whoever. Just say, hey, how's it going? Never know when your last time's going to be with them, unfortunately. Sorry to be a downer there. But, hey, everyone, have a great day, great weekend. We'll be back. Enjoy.